Thanks everyone so much for joining us this morning. Today's session is all about email campaigns and it's going to be in two parts. We're going to be talking about both some advice and tips, with some slides to talk through with you. But then we'll also be actually going into some workshop, and Andy will be leading that. And so we'll actually be going into the Boma system and platform and taking you through some really relevant email questions. So my name is Charles Clark, and I'm joined today by Andy Baird. He's our head of engineering and actually had a great hand in designing all our email software. So a really fantastic person to address your questions. Hi, Andy. Thanks for joining me today.
Very welcome. Looking forward to it.
Fantastic. So let's get in because we do have a lot to cover. And really the first one I wanted to cover, and this was actually a question that some of you asked, which is email still the best channel for me, for my firm? So I thought just worthwhile, we would have covered this anyway, but I thought worthwhile also just spending a minute on, talking about, why email is still current. So look, it has been around since the 70s. That's nearly half a century. Uh, and even though, social media and instant messaging apps have come in ubiquitous, email is still the number one channel for communication for businesses. It's what they prefer. And to back that up a little bit, some recent HubSpot research from last year found that 99% of people checked on their emails daily. So it's very much a channel that people check, by rote every single day. It's also uncluttered by any other messages. So if your email is in their inbox, you have the ability to really communicate consistently for them. And as if you needed any more sort of rationale, you may have heard this before, but in terms of ROI, and this stat has been around for many years, but it still holds true, that for every $1 you invest in email and email marketing, you get $42 in return. So that's obviously US dollars. You might want to convert that to pounds. Now, specifically for accounting firms, I think it's worthwhile thinking about the two types of people you might want to be communicating to. And these would be your current clients and your prospective clients. I think for current clients, email is a really useful tool for trust building. So being able to share the latest tax or accounting tips can reinforce the value that your firm is going to be offering them. So things like tax reminders, special announcements, and so forth are going to show clients that they can count on you to keep them informed and up to date and solidifying that feeling that you're a trusted business advisor. So all of this is really going to help cultivate loyalty amongst your clients and remind them not only of your existing services, but also potentially new services that you might want to introduce or in fact start selling or sort of putting in front of prospective clients in terms of upsell. Now, when it comes to prospective clients, look, we know that they may not be ready for a change or a new account at the time, but the purpose behind email is that you can really start to build that relationship and take advantage of email by showing them that you are a firm who understands the market and the challenges that businesses or people in their situation face. And you can do that by sending them out, relevant content and emails that are going to hopefully provide value. And the idea here is that, whether it's next month, later on the year, or maybe next year, when they do come to that decision that it is time to look for a new accountant, your firm's going to be top of mind. And ideally, and we'll talk about personalization and sort of things like that in the next few slides, they will not only know that your firm is good, but they'll actually know who to call within your firm and feel like maybe they've already got the beginnings of a relationship that you can build on. Now, when it comes to sending out emails, it's definitely a case of relevance is key. And, the old days of spray and pray, so just, send out lots of emails to your entire database, those are very much, done and dusted. And in fact, one of the key reasons why people unsubscribe from emails, one is that they're getting too many emails from a particular business or firm. The second reason is that the content is not relevant to them. And we'll talk about that in the next slide. So in terms of making sure that your content is relevant, there's really two key words that I want you to take away from this, and those are personalization and segmentation. And there's sort of two sides of the same coin, and they are really the key to making your email campaigns effective. So personalization is using subscriber data within an email to make the content feel tailor-made for them. So as an accountant, taking the time to address clients by their name, by their first name, and tailoring the emails or the content of your emails to their specific interests or challenges will really make a significant impact. And by paying attention to these details, it's going to demonstrate your commitment to providing them with relevant and valuable information. Now, the second one is kind of similar, but there is a key difference here. And when we talk about segmentation, we're talking about taking your email list, so your database, and then putting, I suppose, dividing it up into segments or buckets. And this is going to be based on factors like their industry, their company size, their specific accounting needs. Maybe it is the services that you offer, things like that. And the point here is that with segmentation, you can then start to increase the relevancy of your content because you say, okay, well, I'm going to send my trust clients a specific email. This is only relevant for my trust clients. I'm not going to send it to anyone else. And so you can really hone in and make sure that your trust clients are getting great information whilst also protecting your non-trust clients from receiving untargeted and irrelevant information. So what does a segmentation look like in practice? It is relatively simple once you have it sorted. And the premise, and this is just a screenshot of Boma, is that you take your entire database and you start to think about, as I said, their industries, the services you offer, and you start to then assign them tags. And if you can see here on the right-hand side where my mouse is, we've got different tags that I have just assigned to my leads and our sort of demo account. So it could be things like, cash flow improvement. Maybe they're an employer, maybe they're a property investor. And you can assign individual tags to individual contacts. And in this case, this example, I've decided to send an email to my residential property investor clients. Now, in this case, the content that would be in the email would be hyper specific to maybe a change in regulation or tax or reporting requirements. And it's only going to be relevant to this specific group of people. It's not going to be relevant, say, to your retailers, your agricultural clients, people who are interested in cash flow. This is for your residential property investors. So once you have created these tags in Boma, and these would be specific to your firm, you can then filter a campaign audience using these tags. And you can say, great, I want to send this only to people who are tagged with this specific tag. So that's how segmentation works in practice. And you'll hear it many times tonight from Andy and I. It is really the key to having effective and high engagement campaigns. Now, in terms of email best practice, there are definitely some things that we recommend that you do. And you are very welcome to screenshot any and all of these suggestions, but we will obviously send you out the recording. And this one is just basically a quick checklist. And I would suggest that, if you're sending or putting together a campaign, you make sure that you have sort of ticked off these key items. So we've just talked about segmentation and why it's so important. And the next thing is to make sure that you have an impactful subject line. So the subject line is really, it's a key factor in getting people to open your email. So if you spent, it doesn't matter how long you spent making your content really great, and it's a really fantastic looking email, if the people don't open it, then all of that is wasted. So think about, what is going to grab people, what is going to interest them, and what is going to get them to click on that email and let them open and discover all the information that you've got for them. Now, in terms of the information, whether it's a shorter email or a longer email, the key here from a content perspective is to keep the content concise. So, don't use 10 words if 3 will do, and also easily readable. So, you may, depending on the target segment that you've chosen. There may be some language in there which is sort of specific to them, but always sort of think about, let's try and make this as easily to read and as sort of simple, plain language as possible, because even in a sort of a targeted segment that you might be sending it to, there might be a variety of familiarity with some of that more technical language. Now, in terms of personality, I think this is a really important and sometimes sort of often missed element of a good email campaign or a good email. And so you can have, great content. It can hit all the right notes in terms of facts and numbers and figures. But there's no reason not to let some of that personality shine through. And this is important really for two reasons. So with your current clients, it's nice that that does shine through. No doubt you will probably know them. Whether it's you've had sort of personal one-to-one meetings or sort of on the phone, and so it's nice to sort of carry that over. And equally with your prospects, it would be quite odd if your emails sounded one way, and when they met you or one of your sort of colleagues in person, it was a complete sort of mismatch. So there's no harm in letting that personality come through in your emails, and it will, help differentiate you from maybe some of the other accounting firms in your area. When everyone's talking about the same thing, then it comes down to, your personality, individually, and obviously your brand personality as well. Now, when it comes to checking links and buttons, this is quite a simple thing to do, but equally it's one that's missed. And so hyperlinks and buttons, which link then on to maybe a contact us page or open an email, it takes you a couple of seconds to sort of check that they're all working and going to the right places. But if they aren't going to the right places and you send out the email and the links or buttons don't work, it can be a bit embarrassing. So double check they work, and just make sure that you're happy that they are going to where you expect them to go to. Now, in terms of who you should send it from, and this is, when you receive an email, it will say from a particular person. We always would recommend that you send it from a real person. So it could be yourself, it could be a colleague. The alternative is that you might choose to send it from, an admin email address or a team email address. And look, many people do. And that's completely, up to you. We would say best practice is from you, because your clients, they'll know you, or maybe one of your colleagues, and it's it does feel more personal. It feels more meant. And equally, if to your prospects, again, it's coming from a real person, and that just feels better than getting something kind of from a generic email address. And lastly, and this is kind of linked to the checking your links and buttons, always make sure you proofread. Once you click send on that email, and it's gone out, you can't recall it. So, spend that extra couple of minutes, send yourself a test email, send one of your colleagues a test email, get a fresh pair of eyes on it. That can really help actually, if you've been sort of in the weeds creating that email, sometimes a fresh pair of eyes can pick up something that you might have missed because you've seen it so many times. Now, look, I'm going to hand over to Andy for the sort of practical portion of this. As I said, if you've got questions, you can pop them into the Q&A and we'll answer them as we go. But Andy, I'll pass over to you.
Fantastic. So hopefully you are now seeing the content library on my screen. Looks like that's working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a content library campaign. I'm going to show you a couple of different emails in this demo. So for this one, I'm going to choose how to use forecasting and forecasts and scenario planning. Going to have a look at it and go, yep, cool. This is what I want to send. Fantastic. Deliver in campaign. I'm going to send it as an email. I'll just keep the name. I could change it if I wanted to. And the first thing we're going to do, just to reiterate the point and really drive it home, is make sure I target this. So I'm going to segment this. I'm not going to send it to everybody. I'm not going to deliver it to all my contacts, all my clients and potential clients. I could select contacts manually. So this is a great one if you've had like a meeting with a client or a meeting with a client's team, and you promise to send them some notes afterwards. You can go in and pick a few people. You can also search for people as well and find them that way. But in this case, I'm going to filter using tags. Now, I could, for instance, pick clients and send it to all my clients. But actually, I'm going to get even more targeted. And I'm going to send it to my clients that are like 40,000 to 250,000 in revenue. So I'm going to choose that. I'm going to click save and continue. I can see that that's updated the number of contacts. And now I'm going to select a template. Now, one of the questions that we do have coming up on the question slide is around templates. And obviously, you've got your branded templates, which is what I'm going to use today. But equally, you can choose from previous emails. So if you've built a manual template, which you're welcome to do, you can simply reuse that by choosing a previous email where you've used that template, and you can go select and edit to load that up. Equally, we have all the design templates that you can choose from. So for like event ones, there's the save a date one, and quite a few of these give you a good one for an event or something specific that you're doing. And we do have clients as well that choose to use these as their regular email template. But the fastest and easiest is always the branded templates. If I was sending this as a single article, like if I just wanted to send the one article out, then I'd pick the full article, I'd select and edit. It would load the full content in there. But for this one, I'm going to show you building a newsletter style email, so a number of articles in there. If you're just beginning in Boma, if you're just starting on the email journey, then the intro plus hero is up here because lots of users use it. It's very simple. It's very easy. It looks the same on if you're on mobile or on desktop. So it's a great, real easy beginner one that you can drag in. For this example, I'm going to use these 33% ones. They're quite nice. So an image on the left with 33% size, 66% content, or vice versa. There is a little bit of a trick to these, so I'm going to show you that now. So if I click that, select and edit, that's going to bring that content in that format into my branded email. So it's going to bring in my logo at the top, then the article, and then my footer at the bottom. Now, let's say I'm building a newsletter, like I already said. I can add more content by coming in here. The fastest way to get there, though, is actually this Add Content button at the top. So I'll hit the Add Content button. I could go back into the content library. I could choose something else to use. But instead, for this example, I'm going to use a website URL. Obviously, you can paste your own website in here. So people often say, oh, how can I use my own website? You can paste that in here. You can equally say that there's an announcement from the ministry about tax. You could share an article from there. You could share a newspaper article. So really, any link can be put in here. What Boma will do is it'll go out, it'll look at that link, it'll bring in a title, it'll bring in an image, and it will bring in some summary text that comes into the email when you bring it in. Now, obviously, so those have all come in different formats. So this is the hero image that I was talking about before. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring in this right-hand side one, which I know is something that people quite like. They're like, oh, yeah, this looks really nice. And if I go preview, it's going to load that up. It does look quite good. This is on desktop. On mobile, what happens is you get the image at the top of this one, and this one, the image goes at the bottom, which does look a bit funky. And then if I added another one, you'd have an image at the top. It would be back to back. But that's actually very easy to fix. So I can click on this one, and essentially I can, on mobile, I can basically reverse the order, which basically means that instead of this being underneath, it'll come on top. And then when I go preview and obviously switch to mobile, it's now going to be in that nice order where it's like image, then the content, image, then the content. So this is a nice format, just something to be aware of when you're using it. Obviously, these come in with the links already pre-populated, but if you wanted to, you can simply go to the content, you can grab a button, you can drag a button in, like, so let's say that I want to link something else, like maybe I want to link to the contact us on our website. So I can select that, put in the contact us, and then obviously in the URL, put in the URL for the contact us page. One of the other things that you may not be aware of in here, so we have empty rows as well. So there's a lot of different formats in here. So say I wanted to show some images of a new office that you're moving into. You can drag those in, drop them in there. I don't have any images of our office in here, but equally, you can drag them in, and then you can browse for them. You can upload the images. You can search our free photos. We've got loads of stock photos in there. In this case, I'm just going to choose the cute pug there, preload that in. Equally as well, under the rows, there's also, as well as the placeholder, the empty ones, there's the placeholder rows. So these are quite nice. If you want to personalize the start of the email, You can drag this in, automatically brings in that dear first name, that personalization. Equally, if I want to, do like a nice section like this, like let's say you're introducing team members, maybe you've got some new team members, or maybe you've joined with another business. That happens a lot with accountants. And so again, you can come in here, you can replace the image. Let's say you've got someone new called John Connor. You can put him in there. You'd load obviously his image in there, and then this link could be a contact button. And then rather than it being open a web page, it could be send email, and then you'd put John's email in there and a subject and a body. And we've obviously put some kind of description in here for John as well. So I'm going to save and close that email. And what we're going to do now is we're going to jump out of there. We're going to leave that one. So that basically, that's if I was building a newsletter, lots of things. Could be some content library, could be some from my website, could be something from, something tax related, or something from a news website about upcoming law changes. What we're going to do now is we're going to create an email from scratch. And we're going to get ahead of the game. It's almost August, so we're going to write our Christmas email. We're going to start that. And we're going to use AI to write this. So again, we're going to start with a branded template, just empty, so that we can get AI to write the whole email for us. Now, the beauty of AI, obviously, is that you don't have to write emails from scratch. We can just, drag in a nice empty paragraph. We can click on it. We can click Write with AI, and we can bring in a prompt to get it to write for us. And don't worry, we've got a whole page full of prompts. We'll send that out after the webinar. It's in the frequently asked questions on our website anyway, but we will send it out. So essentially, lots of great prompts that you can use to write content. The key is to not use it to write technical content. So all AI at the moment, not just Boma AI, all AI is not very good at fact checking. It's getting there. They're working on it, but essentially it's great for content of like, hey, here's how to manage your team better, or here's how to do this thing better, or like writing a Christmas email like we're doing here. But what you don't want to get it to do is like write technical content. So that's where the Boma articles that are technical come in, because obviously we get them written by experienced writers that are fact checked. And so you can obviously use those. So the prompt that we've got here is, so we're telling ChatGPT, hey, pretend you're an accountant, write an email wishing your clients a happy Christmas and New Year's break. Thank them for their business and loyalty over the past year, and say you're looking forward to working with them in the future and helping them achieve their financial goals. Mention that the firm is closed from 24th of December 2024 to 15th of January 2025. But if they have any urgent queries, please contact the email address and you'll be in touch. Make this email at least 400 words long and use British English, of course. Now we'll click generate, and obviously the AI is going to have to think about that. It's going to write a nice chunky email for us. And obviously, if you're using the AI, make sure you read it, like review it. Make sure, it's got the dates and times correct, which it has. That's great. Thank you for choosing us. Make sure you're happy with it. Once you're happy with it, if you're not happy with it, you can click regenerate. If you're happy with it, click apply. That will bring that along. Obviously, again, we're going to remember to personalize this. We're going to go hi, and then under the merge tags, we're going to choose first name. And then obviously we could do any edits. Like if we wanted to change any of this, we could. If we wanted to have like a picture of the team at the end, which would be great, we can do that. We can also put our names in here and our firm name. And essentially then we've generated a very nice email very quickly with the help of AI. The other thing that I want to just cover off quickly is around links. So again, if we wanted to turn this into a mail to link, or any of this text, in fact, so like if we wanted this to be a link, we could click on it, and then we could choose, move Zoom out of the way, we could choose URL and insert it in there. If we wanted to make this really easy for our clients, we would take that email address and we go, okay, I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to turn that into a link for the clients, make that an email, send the email to there, please assist, and then it's going to open a new window, and away it goes, and then that will convert that into a link. So I think that's everything from the email demo. So back over to you, Charles.
So look, we had lots of questions And what we have basically done, the first few, we have actually put some slides together, and then the last kind of half will actually address, Andy and I will sort of talk about sort of one-to-one. So the next few are kind of, I suppose, some really common ones. So in terms of, when should I be emailing my clients? And look, this is, I suppose, a question that everyone wants to know. When is the best time? What's the best day? And I did go and have a look online just to see what maybe some other sort of well-known organizations were saying. And you can see the co-schedule was saying, 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 2 p.m., and 8 p.m. HubSpot, on the other hand, was recommending between 9 a.m. and noon. Now, from our experience, working with accountants for the last 8, 10 years, from what we see in our results, it's really best to consider the specific needs of your audience. So if you are sending an email to professional clients, that they're going to be super busy. They're going to hit the ground running at sort of 9:30, and then they're going to be busy all morning. So maybe you want to send it sort of early, sort of 7:30. They can read it on the tube on the way in, or sort of on the train on the way into work. Or equally, you might sort of want to send it later on the afternoon when things are cooled down. Now, equally, you may have clients who have a bit of time during the middle of the day. So you might sort of over time realize that, for this audience, you're going to send it, sort of around that lunchtime period. So really, best to do a little bit of testing, best to think about the specific people you're sending it to. Again, we talked about that segmentation earlier. Do a bit of testing and you will find, what is best for that specific audience's needs. If you're just looking for a blanket, what is the best time? I would tend to concur with HubSpot around that sort of in between 9 and noon has always been a good time. Now, in terms of frequency, definitely try to avoid bombarding your audience with excessive amounts of emails. This is only going to lead to two things. It's going to lead to them unsubscribing or labeling your emails as spam. And both of them are obviously bad news because if your emails, if either has happened, your emails won't be getting through. So when you send them that important reminder or update that is actually key for them, and they can't get it, that's going to be a bit of a fail. So how do you get around the question of frequency and how much is too much? So the answer here is really about relevancy and segmentation. Now, I would always recommend that if you're going to do a general newsletter, once a month is a really good cadence. That will enable you to you'll have a little bit of content to share, maybe 3 or 4 articles, you've got some news, some insights, and you can share those once a month, and that is great. You can send that to everyone. That doesn't mean, though, that you can't then add in additional emails to those segments. So something happens and you really need to contact one of your segments to tell them, like, we've got some big news, you need to file this, or it's that time of the year, we need some sort of key information from you. That is fine that you then, with that segmented email and that relevant content, that you send them more frequent emails. In fact, if it's the case that they need to know because of what the information is that you have and what sort of industry or business they're in, they need 3 or 4 emails from you over a particular month. That's fine because you'll be sending them relevant content. So every time they open one of your emails, it'll be bang on the money. It'll be like, yep, I needed to know this. Thank goodness that you sent it to me, and I'm going to respond to that. Again, if you contrast that with the, oh goodness, I'm just getting sent random emails, 3/4 of them aren't even relevant to me as a person or a business. And so you can see the difference there in terms of frequency. So once a month is a good cadence for newsletters, more frequently, but make sure you segment the audience and make sure that you have really relevant content. Now, in terms of what can you talk about? So if you're a Boma user, you're probably familiar with the content library. For anyone who's not a Boma subscriber, it's packed full of everything from compliance to advisory, technology, management, HR, sales, marketing, content that you can share up to your clients. It might be on social, could be on email, could be in blog. But in terms of general things you can talk about, it's really, I think, worth remembering that you are the expert in your field, and this is why a lot of people, will come to their accountant is to get that expertise. So don't forget that you will have a lot of knowledge that you can share that will be of great value. So in terms of that content, and we've got a little bit of a list here of things that you could, be thought starters for you and might give you some thoughts on things that you can share across different channels. But always be thinking about, is this content going to be of use to the reader? Will it deliver them value? Now, you don't have to have 100% of your emails or your sort of social posts always just offering value. There is room, obviously, for emails with a bit more of a sales focus. But I would say, 3 to 1. So three sort of value add emails or social posts to everyone that's focused on sales. Now, the nice thing that you can do with a lot of content, though, is that you can actually combine the two, so sales and value add. And an example here would be that there has been a change in policy. And so as a result, you're letting them know. And that's the value add part. So here is the change in policy. This is how it may affect your business. The nice thing is that at the end of it, you can have a call to action on your email or on your social post saying, if you're not sure, if you would like more advice, if you would like us to come up with a strategy for how you can implement this or manage this within your business, give us a call, give us an email, get in touch. And that's a really nice way, not a pushy way, but a very nice way of saying, look, here's the valuable information. If you would like more guidance, let's have that conversation. So that's a really good way to do it. So again, value first, sales second, and then there is that way to combine the two as well. Now, email deliverability. This one I'll leave to you, Andy.
Sounds good. So cool. So number one, respect your email list. It's a valuable asset for your business. So this is a really key one. Like the difference that we see between Boma clients who are, who protect that email list, build it very carefully, and the people who are, more in that sort of pray and spray kind of group is just night and day. So you want to be very, very careful with your email list. It is a valuable asset for your business when you build it really, really well and when you look after it. So let's talk about some of the ways that you do that. So number one, frequency. Charles has just talked about this a lot. I love that approach of the regular newsletter email and then the more relevant targeted ones in between. That's an amazing way to do it. Whatever your base cadence is, pick something that you can do and stick to it. There's nothing worse, and we've all experienced this. Like, we've subscribed to a business, we hear nothing, and then we get like 3 or 4 emails in a 2-week period, and we're just like, what is this? So whatever your frequency is, make sure that you stick to it. And obviously, as Charles has already pointed out, if you've got something very specific, something very time relevant, that's okay to interject in there. But whatever your base frequency is, whether it's monthly or quarterly, whatever it is, make sure you commit to it and you stick to it so that your clients know what to expect, and so that your prospective clients can go, oh, wow, they're really onto this. They're staying in touch with me. Number 3, use permission-based email marketing techniques. Don't purchase email lists. So we have in our terms and conditions that you can't use purchased email lists. We haven't seen great success with this ourselves when we have tested it. We haven't seen great success for clients when they've tested it. So get people to want to opt in, because then they've actually expressed an interest. They've actually gone, yeah, I want to know more about this. And we will be talking about some of the ways of doing lead magnets to get people to opt in, get people to give you their email address. But you have to do that anyway. Like with GDPR, it's very strict about what you can and can't do. Yes, if you meet with someone, you say, oh, can I add you to your database? And they say, yes, absolutely, you can add them to your database because they're given you permission. That's about respecting them as much as your email list. Number 4, avoid spammy language. Now, unfortunately, as accountants and bookkeepers, you do ask for things like trusts and accounts and all sorts of details which can get flagged by spam filters. So that's why it's very important. Number 8, authenticate your email with SPF and DKIM. So we first introduced SPF and DKIM about 4 or 5 years ago now. So it was something we just added on. It was like an optional extra. Earlier this year, Yahoo and Google both said, no, actually, you have to do this now. And Microsoft now has followed suit as well. Like when I get an email in Outlook now, it has like a little unverified, like a little red label saying unverified if this hasn't been done. So if you haven't done this on your Boma account, you definitely want to. It is technical, but we send you all the details for setting it up, and we help you step through it. And definitely, you want to make sure that your emails land in your client's inbox and don't get lost in the interwebs. Number 5, maintain a good text to image ratio. So that's just simply don't have an email that's just like all large images. Like if you think about those old emails that you used to get from businesses where it was just like one giant image, no text really, it's just a big giant image with like a click here button, go off to some website. Don't do that. Like have plenty of text in the email, so that the email clients can read and go, oh yeah, this has got text in it. You can have images in there, absolutely. You can even have some large images in there, but you want to make sure you've got a good amount of text that people can actually read in there. And so email clients go, okay, good, there's a decent amount of content in here. This looks legit and not just some giant image. Number 6, avoid direct attachments. So in Boma itself, we don't allow direct attachments. You can do URL links, but even in your own email clients, so even in Outlook, if you're sending an email out to client, don't attach an Excel document, a Word document. PDFs are okay, but even they can sometimes get caught in filters. It's far better to attach them as a link, so like upload them to your website. In fact, what we've done for some clients is got them to actually set up a whole page. So if you're doing like an end of year accounts for your clients and you're like, oh yeah, we've got this form to fill in and this form to fill in and this Excel spreadsheet and this thing and that thing, put that on your website. Have a page that says, hey, this is what all these documents are. Here's what this one is. Here's how to fill it in. And then you have a link to the document. And that way, when you send out an email, you're linking to that page on your website, not to a dozen different files and documents, which, some email clients are going to go, oh, wait a minute, you're linking to a zip file here, or you're linking to an Excel document. Alarm bells going off. Number 7, tell your recipient who you are. So this comes back to that feature of, hey, send it from you if you can. We understand that not all clients can, and a lot of our Boma clients do send it from an office or an admin email address. But it's much more personal. It's much better to build a relationship with your clients by sending an email from someone in your team. It could be you, could be one of your colleagues, as Charles said. And number 8, authenticate your email with SPF and DKIM. We have already talked about that.
Thanks, Andy. Now, just getting on to some other questions that you raised. So, best format for newsletters and sort of email in general, so they're engaging for clients. Now, Andy, you've probably seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emails being sent out by our clients. What sorts of tips would you have for the audience? What sort of makes a good email in terms of layout, formatting, and what maybe things to avoid.
Yeah, so I mean, I think number 1, keep it simple, which most of our clients do. Like, don't make it overly busy. Like, pick a format and run with it. So like before, like for me personally, I'll pick either that hero image and the text underneath it, because it just becomes very simple for a client to scroll through and read. A lot of clients like that left-right swap. I'm not such a big fan of it. I kind of think either pick the hero and the text underneath it, or pick an image on one side and the text on the right. Then for someone to scan it and read it, it's very easy for them to do it. So keep that standard format. When you're doing a subject for your email, make it engaging. Make them want to open that email and read it, and make it clear what's in there. Like, there's nothing worse than having a subject line and then you open the email and you're like, where is this thing? Like, what, like that disconnect. So it's about, make it congruent, make the subject line, attractive. Don't just make it like, July newsletter. Like, give it something that's actually interesting, new announcement from the chancellor, like whatever it is. Have it in the subject line, and then follow through. Have that in the actual email. So yeah, I think that's the main thing, is just keep it simple, keep it consistent. A lot of people want to use like all sorts of fancy fonts, and they're like, oh, can we add this font? Can we add that font? Again, not recommended. And actually, we don't allow you to add fonts, because the problem is that what happens is you have a special font. Your designer has gone, oh, this font's beautiful. It looks amazing, and it does look beautiful and it does look amazing, but only on your machine. because and your designer's machine because you guys have the font installed. And so you've got to stick with standard fonts. You've got to keep it basic. And that way you know that what it looks like for you is what it's going to look like for your clients. And you can keep it clean and tidy.
Mm. Now, in terms of fixing the name variable with sending campaigns, so this is just basically looking at how to make sure that every contact in your database, when you send an email, that their first name is inserted. So it's Dear Andy, Dear Charles, for example. And Andy, you obviously talked about the merge tag capability in Boma, and that is just something we always recommend doing. Always include a merge tag in your emails, and then that will make sure that it is personalized. Now, if you don't,
Yeah, and I mean, you can I'm just going
sorry,
to jump
yeah.
in there. I mean, the other things you can do is you can, like when you're inside of Boma, you can sort by, the contact's first name, so you can find people in your database that actually, that don't have a first name. So you can sort by first name, and then you can find people that don't have a first name, so that you can put it in there. One of the other things that we recommend is that if you're building a lead form, an opt-in inside of Boma, at the very minimum, have first name and obviously email address you can't get rid of anyway, but have first name in there. And I mean, I get it. Like you see a lot of advanced marketers kind of going, oh, the less fields you have on an opt-in, the more people that you will get. And that is true. However, the more data that you collect, the better the quality of the people that you get on that list. And I think the very minimum that you should collect is first name and email address, because then you can personalize every email. Even better to add their company name. So, then you can be like, dear John, I'm really excited to help you out in the plant company in this quarter. I've got these events coming up. Maybe you'd like to come along to one of them and they'll be useful for you. Here's all the event details. So I think it's about making sure that you've got it in there and you've got it populated. And equally, um, you know, we're sort of big on support with Boma. And so if you want an export of like, hey, export us all the people in our database that don't have a first name, we can also do that for you. So, like we'll help you solve that problem so that you've got a first name against everybody in your database.
Nice. Now the next one is GDPR. So good question. Who can I email? And so I would say this is sort of two parts of this answer. One is that within Boma, we've got a special GDPR section which is sort of switched on, and that will actually give you the five permissions that you have, which along the lines of, you have a contract with them, there's a vested interest, they've given the permission, things like that. I think Andy alluded to this earlier, and I will hand over to you, Andy, because you know more about it than I. But it is very much about permission-based marketing, and so GDPR, I suppose, takes that to another level, and it's really about proving that you have the permission from the
Yeah.
recipient.
Yeah, from the recipient. I mean, business to business is actually a little bit is a little bit softer than consumer. Like business to consumer is very harsh. Um, business to business, there's a little bit of wiggle room, but there's no wiggle room to add someone to your database and to continue to email them. So there's no wiggle room on that. But like, let's say that you find someone's email address online and you're like, oh, that's John from the plant company, and I want to email him because I met him at an event 3 weeks ago. You could email John and say, hey, John, I'm running an event that was similar to the event that I saw you at. I knew you enjoyed that one. I thought you might enjoy this one as well. So I wanted to invite you along to it. So a one-off email that you've sent to him personally yourself, that's fine. But what you can't do is you can't go and find John's email address and just add it into Boma. So John does have to give permission. Now, that could be in person. Like, you could meet John at an event and say, hey, look, I want to stay in touch. Can I add you to your database so that you'll get our emails? They come once a month. They're full of useful tips for business owners. Would that be all right? Now, if John says okay, then that's absolutely fine. He doesn't have to subscribe, but he does have to give permission in order to get those ongoing emails.
Now the next one is about, what is best to concentrate on when starting at the beginning. And I think Andy has actually sort of hit on a few things. here. I'm going to assume that maybe that you sort of at this point you maybe have a bit of a plan for your marketing. You know, you want to get started, you want to do a few things. When it comes to emailing, and I suppose social in general as well, consistency, as Andy sort of pointed out, is really key. So whether consistency for you is you know, one email a month and maybe a few social posts sort of go along with it, that's great. You know, if success is moving from doing absolutely nothing to emailing your clients once a month with an update, that is great. And you know, you don't have to start off by saying, right, I'm going to have the all singing, all dancing, you know, 15 segmented emails going out to everyone. Success may just be like, let's just start updating our clients with what is going on, and let's do that for a few months. Let's get our sort of training wheels on, and then let's be a little bit more ambitious, you know, 6 months down the track. And now we're going to sort of start to segment the emails and just sort of slowly build, you know, build your confidence, build your expertise, you know, your familiarity. You know, you also get a sense of what works and what doesn't work. Andy, anything to add on this one?
No, I think that's the perfect place to start. And I mean, I think the other thing is just, don't overthink it. Like there's always something every month that you can talk about. You can talk about an event that you went to, something useful that you got out of it. You can talk about like upcoming tax dates. You can talk about like upcoming, tax regulation changes. There will always be something to speak about. There could be questions that you're regularly getting from clients, and then you could, write a blog post about it and then email that out. But yeah, pick a cadence and stick to it, and just start with a basic email format. It doesn't have to be amazing. It's actually more important to stay in touch and be personal and be talking to your clients and your potential clients than to get it perfect every time.
And that actually leads, and this was the last question that we had. So if I know we're sort of right on time, but we'll answer this one. If you've got any other questions, you can either send them through now or later on. But this is around outsource automation of newsletters with content. So this is actually a service that we do offer. We launched it about 5 months ago. So if it's the case that you just want someone at Boma to run your newsletters for you, do the content, you know, if you want us to do your social media and some SEO for you as well, we can actually do all that for you. It's basically like an agency service. Obviously, the difference with us is that we've worked with, you know, hundreds and hundreds of accountants, so we know what works, and you know, we won't sort of waste time trying out things that we, you know, not sure if they work for agents, you know, for accountants. So that is a service. If you'd like to learn more, you can visit our website at bomamarketing.com, and you'll see under the services tab, you'll learn more information about that. And obviously, feel free to book in a discovery call with us, and we can sort of understand your goals, and maybe sort of have an understanding of what you want to achieve, and maybe what your budget is as well. So look, thanks so much for staying with us. We've just gone a couple of minutes over time, so thank you for all remaining with us. As I said earlier, we'll be sending out a recording tomorrow. We'll also include some of the information around AI prompts and that checklist. We'll send that to you as well. But in the meantime, thanks so much, Andy, for joining us, and thank you everyone for your time today.